honest. Now, everything else about this iPad, there was no camera, so there's no point in talking about it. The software, I mean, this thing originally started off with iOS 4. It eventually got up to iOS 5.1.1, which I thought it got way further than that, but only got like one or two versions of software. Essentially, Apple did change that up. This thing did have the Apple A4 chip inside of it, and in 2010, I think maybe we were at the A5 or A6 chip, because in 2013 we had the A7, so it must have been that in 2010 we probably had the A5, so maybe had like a year-old chip at that time or something like that, but still not that bad of a chipset for that time. Essentially, it only got like one or two versions of software, and then Apple changed up their software release cycle, so it would have been cool had this thing gotten a couple more versions, but I think there was some sort of software that actually allowed you to kind of boot up a different version of software on your iPad, so I haven't looked into it, but I'll look into it a little bit more. But I'll definitely say the software of the first iPad is something that still shocks me, because it's still pretty similar to what we have nowadays. I mean, when you look at this, software on here, and you look at iOS 14, really the biggest differentiating factor in terms of the format are the widgets. Other than that, it's kind of like the same thing that we have going on, for better or for worse. So I think also that is a pretty big thing as well. It's kind of funny when you think about it, but it's something that's so weird that, things change, but sometimes things don't change that much, which is crazy. Now, this thing also had a massive 6,600 milliamp-hour battery, and that in and of itself is another really, really big asset for this type of device. As I stated before, when you have a phone, when you have an iPad that has this type of battery, I mean, you can literally set this battery, this iPad, like away for a month, come back to it, and it'll still only have drained like a couple of percentage points. And I'll be honest, there's not a lot of devices out there anymore that are in that same category. I look at, the newer iPads that just came out, the iPad Pros. I think for sure at the end of the day, it's a good iPad. I mean, it's a great iPad. It's a great tablet. It's a great, media machine, whatever you want to call it. But sometimes the battery does degrade a little bit more than I would like, and that kind of does seem to be a problem sometimes. But I think other than that, this iPad still has a ton of capability when it comes down to it, and it for sure gets a lot of, praise from me in terms of the battery standpoint and also in the software standpoint. I think this is probably one of the stronger assets, just because it still seems and performs kind of okay, which I'm totally okay with, to be completely honest. So in terms of that pretty much covers it up.